Hi.
Hello and welcome to the ParkStop podcast. My name is Alicia Stella. With me as always is my co-host Ian.
Hey, kids.
And today we have a very special guest. Craig Williams, videographer and podcaster, is here to join us to talk about Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We've had you on our Patreon show a couple times, and it occurred to me when I was watching your coverage of the Starcruiser that we haven't actually had you on the main show yet. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to have you on and answer my many millions of questions about this experience.
I am more than happy to answer whatever I can. It's been a while now since I was on that media voyage for the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. So the one good part is I feel
answered because I wanted to know, what does the TV remote control look like? Is it themed for Star Wars? And it totally is. So I encourage anyone who wants to know some of the finer details to check out the big video on Diz Unplugged, but you also posted some smaller ones if you just wanted to see some of the entertainment, the shows. You have smaller videos posted too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So our with Diz Unplugged, that's our podcast that we've had for years and years and years. And since the Starcruiser video was pretty important, that went on our Diz Unplugged channel, youtube.com/Diz Unplugged. And that, of course, you described it perfectly. It is a 3-hour long
odyssey,
just complete mess. Yeah, it's an odyssey. I shouldn't call it a mess. I was losing my mind as I was editing it, but I'm like, it's actually pretty easy to watch back. Like, it feels like a linear experience. So for it being so long, I mean, it's not too difficult to watch, but it is everything and more. But then over on our other YouTube channel, youtube.com/WDWinfo, I kind of broke the biggest elements out, and I placed those all in individual videos. So there's like 10 different ones. So like the big epic finale moment, you can find that there. A little bit of Gaia without having to scrub through a 3-hour video, if you even know who Gaia is at this point in time, and little stuff like that. And like, I ended up doing like the one thing that they told us that you're going to do on Starcruiser way before time. They had the two big ones, which was the lightsaber training and the bridge training. And everyone does those, but then you might get invited back to the bridge to do like all these extra little missions. And I ended up in there, I believe 3 times, maybe 4, outside of the mandatory bridge training. And so when I was like making that long video, at first I was like, I'm going to put all of them in there because it's all important. And then I kind of held back and I was like, no, it's just the same thing over and over again. I shouldn't do that. And I kind of just let it go and forgot about it, didn't include it in. And then as I was watching back my footage to kind of make sense of like the timeline of what happens on Starcruiser, it really then dawned on me like, oh, these are all separate little individual missions. And it's just a testament to how thorough they made the experience. It's exhausting. And like, there's literally, you could do it multiple times and still not experience everything. And I completely forgot where I was going with any of this. I think literally this started as you asking me where the videos were.
Right. So WDW Info has the smaller ones.
Yes.
But the big one is on Diz Unplugged. No, I think that's some good insight into this because, yeah, the location may have been the same on the bridge, but you're doing different missions. And not everyone gets to do all the same missions after that first training one.
Exactly. And can you now like see how I made a 3-hour video on all of it? I mean,
I'm almost surprised it's as short as 3 hours, honestly.
Hey, I'll do the director's cut one day, and we'll bring it in at like 4.5 hours. Because I shot 10 hours of material when it was all said and done, so I could definitely extend it out a little bit.
What is the actual timeline for this? Like, how long is the actual experience? Like, you check in. What time was check-in?
1 o'clock.
Okay.
there's been many voyages since, and I still haven't seen anyone really say that they've tried to space out the timing of when people get there. So for ours, it was a media voyage with invited guests. I'd say half the guests arrived in, more than half the guests probably arrived via shuttle buses and such. And then the rest of us were driving in. And I guess I should mention too, the voyage I did was, as I've said, media voyage. It was a free ride on the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. The only thing that I paid for on it was merchandise, and if I wanted any of the, extra beverages on there, all the alcoholic drinks and stuff, because those cost extra money on top of what's included in your voyage. So I didn't pay for anything besides the drinks I had at night and merchandise. So via my company policy, I'm not really allowed to review it, but I am happy to answer lots of questions with it. But yeah, 1:00 is when everyone rushes there. And then the final time that they pushed everyone out was like, I would say right around 9:55. They tell you 10:00, but it was like 9:55 is when they're like,
earlier
go,
than
go,
I thought.
go. So
you have one full day in the middle.
Yes.
Of but you're showing up in the afternoon the first day. You have a full day, and then you leave really early in the morning the next day, because to me 9:55 is early.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it is for me too. Yeah, you have 48 hours, or sorry, you have 45 hours when it's all said and done.
Even a
if
full,
you show up
I've said
first.
48 before. It's not even a full 48. When you say you can show up as early as 1, when does the ship leave? Because this is a cruise. So, like, when do you have to be on the space boat to make sure you're there for the opening moments?
Space boat.
The open. Just refer to it as that for the rest of this, please.
It has a name, but I totally forgot it, so I'm just going to go with space boat.
Space boat, coast to coast.
I mean, it rolls off the tongue a little better than the halcyon.
Halcyon or Halcyon?
Halcyon.
Halcyon. Halcyon. So space boat. The space boat, technically, it's so they set it up to be that it's supposed to be an actual cruise. So if you've ever done a cruise, they are all the same. You can get on, usually in the afternoon, and then before they are pulling away from the dock or pulling out of the port, they make you do like a mandatory muster drill where you learn where to go for if there's an emergency and stuff. And then after the muster drill, then they can officially start sailing away. And the Starcruiser is the exact same. You have to be up there. I think technically you could show up late if you wanted to, but the story basically starts like, I would say maybe around 3:30ish. If I can remember correctly. The muster drill starts at 4:00, but at 3:30, I think that's when a lot of the crew started showing up that you interact with during your voyage.
The characters are wandering around a half hour before the muster.
Exactly.
Okay.
And again, I'm not super positive on that. So we made the mistake. We showed up right at 1:00, but then I forgot stuff at home, had to go back home to get it. So by the time I actually got on board, it was like maybe 2:50, 3:00. And from 1:00 until 4:00 or 3:30, maybe they run the lunch buffet.
Right.
And
okay. So you have something to do. You have all this a spread laying out and free blue milk.
Exactly.
While you wait for milk. Everyone to board. I do not. Green milk does not exist. I'm sorry.
I don't necessarily like either of them in the land. I'm okay with both of them when you add the alcohol in, because I feel like it cuts down on the texture that I don't really care for with them. Yes, exactly. The mouthfeel.
You heard it here, folks. Make your colored milk alcoholic.
That's just my opinion on it. But on board, it is a different texture. It's more like what it tastes like with the alcohol in Galaxy's Edge.
Because it's not frozen, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just
so
chilled.
it's creamier. Yeah. So and I'm not a frozen person. If we're talking Wizarding World, I'm going for the cold butter beer every single day over frozen.
I didn't realize you were wrong. I see.
Oh,
it's fine.
shots fired.
Hey, I don't think anyone is wrong in how they take their butterbeer. The only people I think are wrong are people who drink hot butterbeer first and foremost. But
okay, we can all agree on
also
that.
Not a that's not a popular opinion either. So
I don't hate hot. It wouldn't be my first pick though. Anyway,
okay, so a question.
Starcruiser.
I have questions. Here's one of my first questions, and I assume before you take the shuttle up to the ship, because it's hovering above the planet's surface.
Yes.
Before you do, when you're at ground level and you like get your car valeted or whatever, it is valet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Everything down there is branded Star Wars. The cast members have normal name tags. You are on Earth. Everything's normal. The franchise, the movie series exists. So I'm assuming once you get into the shuttle and start your travel up, the farther you get from Earth, the more in story you become, because there's nothing going to say Star Wars on the ship. So this is the last chance to kind of brand it. My question though is, does the concierge down there like talk like a normal human being? Is this our connection to reality if we needed like a refund or to talk about transportation or questions or like general like My Disney Experience problems or something? Like if we had an issue, are you allowed to get in the elevator and go back to Earth and talk to a human that's not in story?
Okay, so I don't have the exact answer to this, but I can answer it slightly. So there is a guest services desk or guest relations. I always screw that up. On the ship when you are having issues, or
on the ship.
Let's say,
okay.
Yes, on the ship they have it set up right in the atrium where they always have people staffed for it for 24 hours a day. And so like when we did our voyage, my wife was with me and then one of my coworkers who wasn't going to stay in the room with us. And because of that, she needed to go back down to Earth every single night and of the 2 nights and get her car and do it that way. So they have, but like if she would have just went downstairs and walked out to the main area, from what I understand, there wasn't really anyone stationed there.
Oh, okay. So it is just for entry time.
Exactly. They have the full cast out there for the entry time, but like if you're leaving, they make sure that they call down and there's someone out there who can get your car and bring it and they'll be waiting for you. They have a security guard that is always by the metal detectors out there, because if you're coming and going, then you have to go through the metal detector every single time and bag check. And to even make it past that point, you have to get through the initial security booth, which they will only let you in if you know your name matches, your ID name matches a reservation that is currently for that. And then you are double security gated to get through. They have to lift 2 security gates and then you can pull up to the building.
So guest relations on the ship will talk to you like a human and they know Walt Disney World exists.
Yeah, they'll handle with all those issues and anything like if you need a battery charger, they're able to give you one, so that way you can keep your stuff juiced up, because you're going to be on your phone a lot for the data pads. And if you don't want to use your phone, that's who you would go to in order to get the data pads, because I think they might finally have My Disney Experience or the Play Disney Parks app working with it, but like for the first,
they were giving out loaners to start with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and the idea is to just let people use their phone for everything, but yeah, they're there to talk to you normally at any point in time, but they're gonna, if as soon as you approach them, they're in story until you say, "Hey, I have a problem," and then they'll jump right back into
shift gears into normal
reality.
Person. Okay,
exactly. Yeah,
these are the things no one talks about. Everyone else is going to talk about the lightsaber switch or the different show elements. I want to know the practical things. I think the phone charger thing is a very important thing when they force you to use your phone. How important is the phone? Are you I guess everyone has a magic band too. So you're tapping every time you do a story element and you're on your phone to know when story elements are happening.
So this is the tough part. I know that they clearly, all the characters and that are the crew members of the ship, they have some sort of reader that can help help with like who they're talking to and stuff. But the phone, the data pad that you're going to use with it, I think it is critically important because you are having conversations with the characters through the data pad, and that's how you can really set up your alliances with them. Because like on the first day of mine, I was dressed in first order-ish type gear, and so when I was walking around the atrium, you know, some of the characters would come up to me and start talking, but I wanted to go more first order-ish way, so I was trying to input myself in that as much as possible. But then when I was like getting messages on my on the data pad, I screwed up and I answered Lieutenant Croy, the first order officer that's on the ship. I kind of was like hesitant about saying that was where my allegiance was, and all of a sudden that shifted really to like getting more questions from the other sides of it, the resistance, and then Wraith Cole. I've said it so many times now, I don't even remember. But Gaia's manager, who's kind of like the smuggler scoundrel in it, and so then
you accidentally defected within an hour of being on the ship.
Yeah, it was a little more than an hour. I'll be honest, we didn't even know right away that how important the phone element was, because we were talking to the characters in the atrium, and then once we realized, like my wife got hooked up with Sammy, the mechanic on board, and he like immediately pulled her to the side and was like whispering at her, like, "Here, I'm going to give you access to the engineering room, and you know, keep in touch with me to later on. I might need your help." And so she kind of like got that access right away, and we're like, okay, cool. That's neat that you use these little monitors set up in the atrium and all the different floors to gain access to stuff and hack things. But it just, we're like, what are we missing with it? And then once we started like really watching everyone standing around messaging with the characters and stuff, then it kind of clicked, like, okay, yeah, we've missed out on that element. But then we still were able to kind of course correct on the second day with Batu and going to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So there's always enough time to correct yourself unless you're like right at the end. But like everyone who was participating deep in right from the start of it, they were getting to do these like little missions and knowing where to show up for these little extra experiences that we weren't getting. But then on the second day, as soon as we started communicating more, that's when we were getting messages on the data pad saying, hey, meet at this time at this place. Or, you know, if they didn't have enough people to take part in those experiences, the characters might come up to you and just like whisper it in your ear and say, hey, come meet me back here at 7:00.
Okay,
I need your help.
They do have a backup if no one's paying attention to the app. They have a backup plan to go recruit people physically.
That would be me.
And they do that. From our experience, even though a lot of people wanted to participate, they were still having to do that a lot. The one experience that was the hard ticket to get into was when everyone realized that, you know, Rey was on board and she was in the lightsaber training room, and there was something really cool happening in there, but no one was really saying exactly what it was. But it was just groups and groups of people standing outside trying to get in. And at that moment, that was, you walk up, because there's always a crew member standing outside of the room where these little pop-up missions experiences happen. And they've got an iPad. And if you were invited through the app, then your name is already on there, and they'll say, okay, you have access to it. And if for some reason a character was walking through the halls and invited you, all you have to do is go up and tell them, like, hey, yeah, Gaia sent me to this, so that's why I'm here. And then they'll let you in, like, no questions asked. But like for the lightsaber, what was happening in the lightsaber room that I don't want to spoil just in case no one's seen it online. But for that one, there were so many people, and we walked up and tried to talk our way in, and it was no go. They were like,
if you're using the app, you're reserving things. Essentially, you're reserving a guaranteed slot into an experience if you're able to be invited through the app. And then they have a backup plan to recruit you in person if they don't fill all the seats, essentially.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair way of saying it. At the very least, you're able to manipulate getting invited to things through the app.
It seems like when you look at the official website and you book your trip, none of this is actually explicitly explained.
No,
It
none
feels
of it is.
like the sample itinerary they show you looks convoluted, complicated, and pre-planned. But most of those like surprise moments are literally surprises that happen like shortly before they actually happen. They're not actually given to you as an itinerary, right?
No, yeah. So Disney obviously shot themselves in the foot with Starcruiser in a couple different ways leading up. I'm not gonna really jump on the kid from the Goldbergs and that whole mess of a video that they released on that. That was so goofy. That didn't help them. But that sample itinerary, like, remember when that was released and everyone was just mocking like the unexpected experience that you would have in it. That is, I don't know why they put that out, because that's not, they knew back then that that's not how this experience was designed. So it really hurt them. And, a lot of the stuff that was on those sample itineraries, like sabacc lessons and sabacc tournament, that stuff's on there. But if you are doing those, if you're doing the runway show that you can participate in, or the bingo in the atrium,
the
and
line
things
dancing
like
test.
that, or line dancing, all of those, you are literally pretty much telling yourself, if I'm doing these, there's something happening somewhere else on the ship that I don't know about, that I'm missing out on the bigger picture of it.
I almost feel like, as an outsider looking in, if you're doing bingo and line dancing in the atrium, you are now background extras in someone else's movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And literally with the line dancing one, it's with the line dancing, and a little spoiler here, but it's, you learn how to line dance because then at dinner that night, you have this moment where Guy is doing the performance and she's like, come on, everyone, get up and dance. And the dance is because there's a big distraction happening where they're sneaking a character through the dining room.
Right.
And they're using that as it. So it's like, for people who, for people who helped with that character getting on board, they got this cool moment where they're like, we helped and we got him on board and we helped him in this room and it's been awesome. And then everyone who was line dancing is like, this is why we line dance. So we can line dance in this room now, probably not even noticing that they're causing this big distraction.
Not realizing they're the background actors in a bigger scene they're not a part of.
That seems more like the Star Wars Macarena to me now.
It is goofy. And I'll say, the character that you were creating the distraction for, he came in a door that was 3 tables away from us. And I was so focused on everyone freaking dancing in the room that I didn't even notice it. So it's one of those things where, like, I hate that sample itinerary, and the data pad has your itinerary, and as you're invited to missions, those will get added to your itinerary, so you know where to be and when. But it's that sample itinerary killed them, because it made it look like a joke in terms of, this is all these things that you could technically do. But there were some people on our cruise that would literally just sit and drink all day at the sabacc table, and that was enough for them. But if you were doing those things, you're missing out on the bigger picture.
Toward the end, they started to really promote it as like it's a cruise in space. But early on, I think when we all heard about it, we just assumed Star Wars hotel. And there was and it was hard to delete that from everyone's brains, especially journalists who've been reporting on it for years, from like 2019 when it was announced. Is that when it was announced? So we've been talking the Star Wars hotel, the Star Wars hotel. And it is a building with rooms that you sleep in overnight, and it has a restaurant. It feels like it's going to be a hotel. And then they finally tried to start like, it's a Starcruiser, it's a cruise experience. We'll all ship off at the same time, and there's activities on board. And they still never really drilled down that this is like more like an interactive theater experience, and that you have the opportunity to, because they always say, make it your adventure. Everything they open at Disney World is like, you get to live your own adventure, and they oversell it. And it's like, this is a gift shop. What do you mean live my own adventure? And then they finally finally make something where you get to live your own adventure. And it's like Boyle cried wolf, and we don't believe them. But you literally do get to actually live your adventure in this attraction that is a 45-hour immersive experience. And they never really sold it to me as that. I never got that.
No,
and the sample
me either.
itinerary, just like live your own adventure. Oh, I could play bingo. That's how
Yay,
adventurous.
cool.
And then you actually see like your video and people that are going in the first few days. And it's like everyone's announcing it's a resounding success. And it's like, well, if they had actually showed us this stuff, maybe we would have been more excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people would have been a lot more excited about it if they would have known everything that would have been happening with it. But at the same time, too, like, it is still such a steep price point, and we knew we were going to get to this point. Talk about
you brought it up. I tried to go as long as I could.
I was going to.
Let's call this we'll call this the peak. So we've just been building up to this moment, and we're still going to talk after this part, but we're just going downhill from here. It's I think it would have also gotten just as harsh criticism beforehand if they would have really played it off as an interactive theater experience at that price point, because some people just don't get it. I mean, I didn't get it. I've never done an interactive theater thing before this moment. I was aware of it, but I never had participated in any of them. So I didn't know fully what to expect. And I don't think as a person you can even know how you're going to fit in with it, because I don't think of myself as an introvert or an extrovert. I don't know what the middle is. I don't know if that's just a vert, but I'm somewhere in the middle, I guess, of those two. And I literally, I was not excited to do this thing. I love Star Wars. Galaxy's Edge was so important to me that I got the logo for Black Spire Outpost tattooed on me, and I'm probably going to get the Halcyon logo tattooed on me as well. It runs deep with me, but leading up to it, I was like, I don't want to do this at all, because I'm also covering it. So I knew that I'm going to have my camera with me so much that I'm not going to be able to enjoy it for what it is. And then like 24 hours before, all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I want to have an outfit, and I want to be a part of the story, even if I am working. So then there's all these waves came over me like, okay, I'm going shopping and finding ways to put together outfits. And then you show up there, and first it's like, okay, this is cool. This is, look at it, feels very Star Wars, even though it is so brand new and sleek. But, they build that in with the story saying, well, yeah,
it's newly remodeled
recently
to bring
renovated.
it back.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been bring it back to its original glory. I got that. I get it.
Yeah, no, they make it fit in. So you start to feel those Star Wars elements pretty immediately when you're in there. And then like the actors on here are good actors. I mean, I can only speak for the ones that I've watched in videos and the ones that I experienced. I mean, these are not just good actors, but they're also great at improv and thinking on their feet. So I feel like they're good judges of how to engage people. And so for someone like me who is just socially awkward when you put in those moments, why I don't like doing character meet and greets in the parks, when I found myself starting,
definitely me.
Yeah, it's I think it's a lot of people, but then I found myself talking to these characters, and not just talking to them, but also wanting to talk to them. Just because I knew it would open up more doors, it unleashed something inside of me that I totally did not expect. So I think it's a very hard sell in the long run to be like, hey, it's an immersive theater experience, because then you have the people saying, no, this is cringe and I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to people. But until you do it, I don't think you know how you're going to react. But it is not affordable by any means, unless you are in a great tier of how much money you make, and you can afford something like a $6,000 vacation without having to blink an eye. At that point, yes, I'm sure it's worth it. But for
now,
most
hold on,
people,
Craig,
I would
as low as $4,000. We have to say
40,
as low as
4,800.
$4,800.
Okay.
Let's
be real.
really get particular. The whole pricing thing, I mean, I feel like at this point we can't even say like the 6,000. Everyone uses that as the baseline for it, but with friends, I have now priced out voyages on 2 or 3 different dates in the future, trying to be able to go back again. And the lowest I think we've seen so far was like 6,500. And that was for a group of 5 adults. And the average that we looked at in pricing was around 7,300 for a standard stateroom with 5 adults in it. So,
right. Yeah, because the pricing is by the room. You can't go by yourself and just pay for it for the 2,000 something dollars. That's not an option. Although it would be funny if you could be paired up like a dormitory in college with someone else who's going by themselves. Maybe someone will make an online service for that, like a Craigslist, looking for another to explore the galaxy together. But
someone will do it if they haven't already done it and we don't know about it.
They can theme it to the Love Cruise.
There's got to be a Star Wars forum somewhere where they're like getting people. But this, when you said you don't know what you're going to expect when you get, because this is a LARPing experience that for people that don't know what LARPing is. There was an episode of Bob's Burgers, I think it was, where they went to go stay at this like recreation of a hotel. It's a hotel that's like recreated to look like the Downton Abbey type building. And they didn't realize they were going to be LARPing the whole time. And they got there and they split everyone up in the guests into 2 groups. And it's like, you are going to be the wealthy and you are going to be the help. And they got all the Bob's Burgers characters had to dress up in like maid uniforms and go and make dinner for the rest of the people staying at the hotel. You don't know what you're going to get.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
exactly. It's I don't like to say though that, because a lot of the stuff Disney is saying with it is like, this is a never before seen experience. This is a one of a kind, brand new experience. I mean, no, there's other people, other companies have done these immersive experiences. Maybe not on this level and not with Star Wars, but
right.
It's other places have tried this kind of concept before, but for Disney fans, I think for the most part, it's completely a foreign language. It's something they don't know what to expect. And
especially with Disney, I'm used to like reserving my DVC room 11 or 7 months in advance. I'm used to getting all my dining completely done in advance. I used to be used to getting like my fast pass 60 days in advance for my trip. I'm so used to Disney and planning everything in advance that even the possibility of spending $6,000 and not being able to go into the room with the Yoda hologram because I didn't follow the right story points, like that's my brain explodes because I hate like the FOMO of missing out on the opportunity to see one thing because I saw it in a YouTube video and I'm like, I can't, it's too many variables. I'm going to miss something. I'm going to be in the bathroom when the lights turn red. I'm going to miss a muster. Like I'm so scared that the stress of it, that I'm going to miss something important and not knowing. We were talking before the show about like the different possible storylines you could follow. And there was one that says rom-com, right? What is that?
I'm still trying to figure that out too. So it came from, there was like a game convention or something where I don't know if it was an unofficial thing or if Disney showed up and did a panel on it, but it was about Starcruiser and looking at the subplots. And they said there was 6 different storylines you could technically take and intersperse with Resistance, Smuggler, The Force, First Order, Rom-Com, and Heist. And I definitely got Resistance, Smuggler, The Force, First Order, and Heist. I did not get Rom-Com. Then again, there was one couple on our media voyage that they did this proposal in the atrium. Mm-hmm. And no one knew if it was real. No one knew if it was fake. I've heard a lot of stories still and still waiting on the exact answer for it. But I guess maybe they added that section in there because someone did make it a rom-com.
Is this the Luke and Leia storyline? Essentially, if you know what I mean.
Wouldn't that make that whole? Never mind.
Are they actors?
Never mind, I'm a shush.
Or I thought they were real people doing their own storylines, like Len Testa did. Like I thought it was their own thing.
Oh, that was what I with this. It was two people who were on our voyage who made their own storyline where they got engaged. And the question that we all had though is, what is their relationship outside of it? They were not. They were not
just
there
playing
with
characters.
Yes, and
of their own accord, not of Disney's writing.
Exactly. Okay. And
see, this is what really bewilders me about this is that when you get into LARPing, you can't control what the other LARPers bring to the table. So like you were all media and you were all on your best behavior. I worry about like some Star Wars fan who was taking it way too seriously. But I guess that's the good thing about this experience is you really can interact as much or as little as you want. And maybe, you know, there's some safety in playing sabacc and having a drink and just taking a step back every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Craig, what do you think is the best kind of things for people to do that are like more introverted, that don't really want to be center stage or talking too much, and they just kind of want to stick to the edges and watch everything going on?
I mean, honestly, if you don't want to participate and be a part of it, but you just want to watch all the main elements, you're probably just going to find yourself at the bar for most of it, at the Sublight Lounge and playing sabacc, and just, you know, you would have time to enjoy that cabin that you're paying for, that you barely get to use if you are participating in the story. And so there's a lot to be said about, you know, actually stepping back and only watching the big moments. But my
character is just Norm from Cheers. I just walk in, everyone says hi, and I get to my seat at the bar and just chill for the whole day.
Yeah. Hey, if it didn't have the price tag it did, I could actually see myself doing that, because everyone who has said like, oh, I wish this was a one-day thing that was cheap where we could pay to come on cheaper than what it is and just do the restaurants, have access to the bar and merchandise and see some of the characters. I totally understand that, and I would be there for something like that if it was at the right price point with it. But would I just go and sit in the Sublight Lounge and drink for 44 hours? Well, it's not. You can't drink that much. The bar closes, obviously, at some point in time. But
to go drink, sir.
It's I don't know how you would justify the cost to yourself if you did nothing.
If the cost was like half as much per person, and it's not for multiple nights, it's just one day, and you could go around noontime, they had the lunch spread out, you could mingle with the characters, and everyone was guaranteed like the lightsaber training and or bridge thing, and then they did the special end of the trip finale thing with Rey and Kylo. It like would that be worth like $900? No sleeping in the room at all, just like one full day of action. No, like not even going to the Galaxy's Edge. Just all the good stuff from one day's worth, and not so much living your own story as being led through the story, and then you leave. Or is $900 still too much for that experience?
I mean, I think 900 is still a little steep for that. I don't know how we can really get nerdy with this and break down like how many meals are you going to have during this experience and stuff. But for me,
one and a half.
So it's really tough on it. I do think there is a case to be made for people who want that experience. I think, there's part of me who could say, if this was my only way to do it, maybe justifying that one day experience at like 500 a head.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 500.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of a safe spot in there, because if you're looking at just your base price for a theme park ticket for a one day ticket, what is that up to now?
150. If you want a park hopper, it's like 160 at the most, I think.
Yeah. And so if you start looking at it from that, add in extra entertainment, granted, you're getting rides and entertainment built in with the cost of your theme park ticket, but this is on the next level. And having a free meal thrown in.
Personal entertainment.
Yeah.
Because they interact
could
with
actually
you.
maybe... Yeah, and with something like the lightsaber and stuff, I guess that is a little bit more unique. So I could maybe even take it up to like 600 a person for something like that. But I think the ultimate walk away that people would have is, oh, that final moment was cool. But in the show, like, I've spoken about this in other places before, the big ending show with Kylo Ren and Rey, it is an emotional experience, but not because of them. I mean, they show
Right.
up and they're like, yeah, we're tied into the movies. It's because the characters that you just got to know over the last day and a half all have their big triumphant moments, because after it hits 11 o'clock on that second night, you don't see them again. It might even be a little earlier than that. And you don't see them at all on that morning when you're checking out. They're done. They're not there. So you have in those final moments, you have that, you not only have that big battle, but you have your climax with the characters that you just got to know and became attached to. So you care more about their stories and how it ended than, oh yeah, Kylo Ren and Rey just fought with
Right.
in the atrium section. I mean, it's, as many people have complained about, that's something that should be happening nightly in Galaxy's Edge,
Right.
as it is. But you wouldn't have that additional emotional attachment that you do when it happens in the atrium, because you see how all these character stories end as well too. And so I think that's the one element you don't get in a day trip. Even if the characters are all around and meeting and mingling, you won't get that. You don't get that payoff with them. And that's
I mean,
one of
even
the
if you
biggest
still get
selling
your
points.
secret missions and it's just all condensed into one day, I don't know, like, without having to go to Galaxy's Edge, because you're going to leave your characters behind when you do that anyway, right? It's a lot of your first day
you
stuff
do.
could be crammed into the morning. You get to see characters in Galaxy's Edge?
No. You do leave that behind, is what I was trying to say. So
yeah.
you're absolutely right.
So if you cram some of the first night stuff into the morning of the whole day, you're essentially getting your whole storyline and all of your characters together. You're only just skipping going down to the planet and sleeping. So
Yeah.
I'm just arguing, I think you could get the full. Might not be as emotional because you didn't sleep on it, but you still might get all the story beats in. And like, for me, I would rather pay that, because I don't want to make this a big like vacation thing for 3 nights. I would rather it be a full day experience, get to do all the really cool stuff, get to like live the adventure, and then go home. And it also, it's just out of my, I wouldn't even say it's out of my price range. We talked about this before. I just think I would rather spend the money on something else. I could go to Hawaii for that much money, which I've never been, or I could go to we could go to like New York, like you said, and go see a Broadway show and spend 5 or 6 days somewhere and get flights for the cost of a, 2-day thing here at Disney World. So it's more of a matter of priorities. I think there's other things I would rather do for. Once I've done and gone everywhere I want in the world, I will do the Star Wars thing.
Yeah, that's the tough part, because I'm the exact same way. I am actively trying to get back on the Galactic Starcruiser with friends. I will have the chance to experience it one more time through work stuff, and I am very excited for that. I'm hoping that this time around I'm going to go the first order route and actually stick with it and not flake and get caught up in that mess again. But as you mentioned, so you brought up the holocron with Yoda. I desperately want to see that. That was the biggest thing that I had FOMO on of the entire experience. It didn't matter all the cool things I saw. I could not get over the fact that I did not see that. And so now I'm like left with, okay, I get to go back and do this again one more time. I want to go first order, but I also want to get in this room.
Oh yeah, that's a resistance thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of the Force. So if you make friends
so
with the Saja,
I just can't imagine spending thousands of dollars and then being like, oh, sorry, can't do that because you want to go under this storyline. It's just so weird to me. Here's the thing. Here's a question. Yeah. Okay. Remember when Avatar was in theaters and people were like depressed because they couldn't stay forever in Pandora? Like, they had such an emotional connection to the film and the 3D movie, and it was so immersive for 2.5 hours that they were actually sad when the movie ended and they had to leave. Is this going to create a new type of emotional connection that people will become addicted to this type of entertainment and actually keep going back to like Galactic Starcruiser? Do you think that's possible with this?
I do.
Yes. It so from I read all about this after the fact. Apparently it's called LARP bleed.
Yep.
And it's when you get so emotionally connected in your role playing that it like your reality that you normally have blends in with that world. So it is so tough and difficult to leave. And that's the only reason why I'm still planning on going back. It's like it felt like it it pulled something out of me that I didn't know was there before, and it's desperately trying to get me back there in my mind. And I know everyone that I personally know that has done it so far is doing the same thing and trying to get back on and figuring
Well,
out, okay, who
in
can I
that
go
case,
with?
everyone's first cruise should be free. That way, that's how they get you. The first one's free.
The first hit is free. Oh,
I think so, but even the ones who I know that paid for it out of their own pockets, I know one guy who paid to be on the first cruise, and he went on one, like I think it was the next week after that, had a friend that had one spot open up and dropped down his percentage of it to be able to go back on again. So it's a real thing that I think everyone who says I don't see how the model is sustainable, I think a lot of it is sustainable because people are actively trying to go back onto it, the ones who formed that connection. And how long will that last? I'm not sure, but I think the majority of people who go on are going to be itching to go back again, because it sucks you into a world that that's a lot, not as, I don't want to get depressive with this, but you get lost in this fun escape that really does keep you out of what's going on outside of the parks. It's like everyone calls Walt Disney World, the Disney bubble. And once you get in there, everything is just good and the outside world doesn't escape in. This is like a bubble inside the bubble. So it's like, it just gives you that feeling that you can get lost in it and you want to go back. And it's very much like a drug in that way.
Whenever anyone talks to us about the longevity of this project, and they're like, well, they're going to run out of people that are curious or whatever. And I always say, I don't think it's going to, like, even the people that go multiple times, when they felt like they've gone enough, or if they only go like once a year, or they only go once every 5 years, if the sales start to slump, all they're going to have to do is introduce something. Like something small, a new mission, a new character, and anyone who's gone multiple times will probably go again. If you are able to afford this, or you go with a group of friends and this is something you really like, and it sounds like even you who were on the fence about it in the first place really like it, I don't think it's going to take much to get people to come back. So, this is like the equivalent of introducing a new cupcake to get the bloggers to go back to Magic Kingdom. I think that it's not going to take much to get us to go back.
No, it won't.
Especially if it's a new mission, and like the FOMO of like, or even the fact that it's hard to get to do everything on one trip. It aggravates me because I'm only going to do it once, and I know I'm only going to like put the money forward to do it once. But if you're willing to do it multiple times, like, oh well, I didn't get to see the hologram Yoda this time, I'll just go for that storyline trek next time and get on that track. So I can see this becoming a repeat business thing. Oh, for sure.
Disney knows that they want it to be a repeat business thing. They have full intentions on it. So after we did our voyage, on the final day, we then had a chance to go to a press event, interview event thing where we were able to talk to the people who created it and work there and developed it. And my big question with it was kind of, who is this for? Because as we were doing it, it seemed like families were just in love with the entire experience. Kids were just gravitating towards these characters, but a lot of it wasn't necessarily aimed at kids, in my opinion. It was designed for all ages, but still felt like it was a little more skewed to adults. And, because they're the ones who truly could maybe have the best attempt at being able to afford it. And, if you're a adult couple without kids, then you might have an even better chance than the family of 4 or 5 out there that's scraping to get by. So I asked, like, who is this for? And, got the base answer of it's for everyone. And I was like, okay, well, first off, you don't even have bathtubs in any of the cabins. So what about families with smaller kids that rely on that? And like the answer was basically, you're going to be basically too busy. So they don't
busy
need
to bathe your children.
On those. Yeah, they did not say that. So just make that clear. But that was the implication that was.
It does feel like it was made for disposable income Star Wars fan. It feels like it was made for that. But seeing all the kids in the videos really getting into it, I almost think the takeaway from this should be what I always say about like good movies is that a good family film is one that isn't just for kids. Like a Brad Bird film, he's always like, I'm just making movies for everyone. I think this experience accidentally made the best kids thing because the kids are loving it and it's not dumbed down or like trying to it's not, no offense to Belle's Enchanted Tales or whatever, but it's not like too child friendly. And that almost makes it easier for kids to make it their own and do the story as if they were grown up and be respected as if they're the equals. And these kids are having fun in these videos I've seen because they're naturally more extroverted anyway, and they take it very seriously. And I love the video of the little boy snitching on his sister to the First Order because he specifically said in the beginning, you need to tell us if anyone's a spy, even if they're your relative. And the kid totally did.
Oh yeah, no, it's the kids
freaking hilarious.
It up. So that's what led me to my, like, as I'm asking these questions, who is this for? I said, well, what do you tell the person? You get families on here now and they find out from the table beside them that, hey, I missed, there was this moment that was the coolest moment where Yoda came out in a hologram state and it was really awesome. Well, we missed out on them. What do you tell the family that missed that? And the answer was, well, of course, you can always come back and do Starcruiser over and over again, and you can make sure you never get the same story. You can always have a different story.
It could definitely be part of an annual vacation for growing kids, and it'd be different for them each time.
But then I lost my mind saying, how can you give that answer when the experience costs this much money? For most people, even if they have the itch to come back and do it again, it's probably going to be a one and done. Just because if you are a family of 4 and you're looking at spending baseline right around $6,000, but inevitably probably closer to 7 or 8, and not even factoring in hotels the night before or the time after, park tickets added on top of it, did I even mention flights or driving, all of that? When you add it all in, you're looking at a very expensive vacation that is a one-time thing. So it's I really don't know how many people will be able to do it over and over and over again. But if you can, I mean, good for you. I will be the first in line to say I am jealous of anyone who can afford to do this at the drop of a hat.
Also, I think there's a potential here that if it's done well enough and enough people do it and like it, it could spread and even go beyond people staying at Starcruiser, because that's kind of how LARPing is. And D&D is spreading like crazy too, and that's role-playing even though they're sitting at a table. And even beyond LARPing, there's like SCA and stuff, which is even more hardcore in history, but they still dress up and use things, and they actually kind of quote unquote fight. Like they use padded weapons and stuff, but they recreate fighting. Like this could go pretty far if it gets popular enough. So it doesn't even have to stay within the hotel. It could start sprawling.
I'll tell you what, too. At our media voyage, the main thing that I was surprised by was in terms of the Disney people that were invited, it was not a lot. I mean, we had 300-ish people on, and then there was extra people that were invited that were only allowed to drive in and experience everything, and then they didn't get a cabin and had to go home. They were kind of like the buffer that, hey, in case the people who are covering this for work don't want to play along, we need someone to play along, so that way they get an idea of what the experience is like. And they went really heavy on Star Wars fandom, not necessarily Disney ones. So what I'm wondering now is we have Star Wars Celebration coming up very soon, and who knows if there's going to be a panel on Starcruiser for that, trying to push it to that audience. But I think it's easy as theme park people for us to say, how is this sustainable? I think they're going to really start to heavily target the Star Wars fan side that doesn't care about Disney, but really loves it. And for the longest time, I was saying they're never going to be able to pull them in. Star Wars fans hate the trilogy that just wrapped up. They don't like Rey and Kylo Ren. They want their original characters in that story. But if they can actually slowly start to mold this experience to be less impacted by those movies and make it more of a standalone Star Wars story, I think they're going to pull in Star Wars fans in bigger droves, and it could sustain itself for a long time. And it just so happens that it's also on theme park territory, and they can finally get that blend of fandoms that they have struggled at finding since they basically bought Star Wars.
At this price point, they're clearly going after a different demographic and a different market. It appeals to us as theme park fans and Star Wars fans, but it's maybe not directed towards us. So the ones that are able to visit over and over again, and like the same way that, oh, you know what, I'm just going to spend $15 on this one lightning lane to skip the line. What does it matter? Times 5 people in my party. This is almost like a strange $5,000 upsell for 3 days out of your vacation. Like, I'm already going down there for a week. Do you want to do the Star Wars thing again? Yeah, you know what? Let's just do that again. I liked that. Maybe we'll try the First Order this time. It's like, I want to be that rich, but I wonder if that's who they're targeting, because the price that you're paying for this is normally the once in a lifetime Walt Disney World vacation with your flights and your 4-day ticket and your dinners or your Disney dining plan or whatever it would be, all like for 5 nights at Disney World, but for this small one intimate experience. So that it's definitely as much money as we would do for once in a lifetime, but crammed into a tiny thing. But then when you think of it as people that have disposable income, well, it's almost like an add-on to a vacation.
Yes. For a lot of people out there, I think it'll be an add-on. And then for everyone else, it's that goal to get to. And then what makes it worse is, I wish you could say like, okay, well, we paid the money and we got on and we're doing it, but you're inevitably going to spend money on there too. I mean, it's like they had me fully in on the merchandise the second I stepped into the gift shop on the Halcyon. And again, granted, I did not spend any money to get on, so it's not like I just ate a $6,000 price tag and then had to justify merch on it too. I was able to just walk on and be like, oh, I paid nothing to be here and now I get to buy stuff. Like, so I understand how biased I am in this, but I walked into that store and it inevitably became not what am I going to get? It's like, okay, what can I live without? And because the idea of it being exclusive to only people who have been on that ship is just it's too hard for theme park fans to get over.
To buy these things. This might be your only chance to go into this gift shop. You better use your chance wisely. They finally wore me down, and I got to build a lightsaber at Savi's over Christmas. It took a couple years, but they wore me down, and I was like, all right, let's do this experience. And then when I booked it, Jen's like, you know what? Maybe I'll build a droid. And I'm like, that's how they get you. Once you open your wallet once, that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. Oh man,
we enjoyed those experiences. By the way, they're quite expensive, but we did enjoy them.
I mean, Evermore is a thing. It's not Disney or Universal, but it's pretty popular with people into that stuff. There's nothing to say they can't do it here at some point. and expand on it even more. But Evermore is pretty popular. It looks pretty cool to me from the stuff I've seen. I want to go out there, but I'm just saying it's possible to keep going with this.
I just wonder where Disney's going to take it next, because we know they can take it outside of Star Wars for sure, and obviously Marvel is something that could be ripe for trying to figure out something along this. I mean, I still haven't been to Avengers Campus yet, but from everything that I've been told, it's not the same level of immersiveness as Galaxy's Edge is. It doesn't have that same draw of something like Savi's or Droid Depot, because I'm with you. I love Savi's. I only have one lightsaber from Savi's, but I've asked for like gift cards, for Disney gift cards for birthdays and other things for years, and we have enough money now so my wife can go build a lightsaber, because she didn't get to go in there with the experience for me, because I did it in California. So like, she doesn't know what happens in there because she still hasn't watched anything on it.
Honestly, they're hiding Yoda behind every paywall is what's happening here.
Yeah, they are. They are absolutely. And it's like, so I
kind of want Cal's lightsaber.
What's that?
I said I kind of want Cal's lightsaber. It's a cool lightsaber.
It.
Oh, yeah. Of course you did.
I did.
It looks so.
I did.
It's such a good game too, but it looks so cool.
That's what's happened to me now. So the one time I let my guard down here is, and this is why I can't get back on Starcruiser, because I'm financially irresponsible. I let my guard down on Starcruiser, and it started as me looking at it like I said, I'm looking at everything. What can I live without? And so at first I'm like, okay, well, there's these patches over here, and I want to put them on a jacket, so we'll go with the patches. And then it's like, oh, those training robes, they're pretty cool, and I'm going to Celebration, so it'd be nice to be able to have something to dress up in. And then my wife spotted the lightsaber, and she's like, well, we clearly need this. Like, you are not supposed to do this to me. You're supposed to be the voice of reason.
You were supposed to be the chosen one. Is that a Star Wars reference? Did I do a Star Wars?
She was supposed to bring balance to the Force.
To the Force. There you go. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
She threw the balance on that one for sure. And so that was I have held off on every legacy lightsaber, only had my Savi's one, and then she was like, it's the Halcyon lightsaber, you kind of have to do it, you're never going to come back on here, so get it now. And then 4 weeks later, they're like, oh, that Cal Kestis lightsaber from Fallen Order that you voted on years ago, guess what, it's released. I'm like, I voted on it. I can't not buy it. I was one of the people who chose it.
You brought it to life. You have to. You're obligated.
Now I have to. Yeah.
So it's like two decisions that just cost me $350 in the past month. I'm like, that's money that could have went to Starcruiser. It's now sitting in boxes collecting dust.
Going back to what you said, though, I feel like Marvel Cinematic Universe moves too fast. Like, by the time Imagineers are planning and building things, they're already so far beyond. I mean, it's fine. We can have, Mission Breakout always have Baby Groot forever, but Baby Groot did not stay Baby Groot for very long. So to try to do a hotel experience or a cruise type thing like this, I can't even imagine what you'd like theme it on that would make sense 10 years from now.
They could stick to the tent poles, like the big group fights every whatever years, like the climaxes of the different eras.
I think they would have to pretty much just do opposite of what Galaxy's Edge and Halcyon. They need to do more of what the Wizarding World did, and that's say, let's just make this timeless. And then Marvel could play around with that. Galaxy's Edge, there's no beating around the bush at it. They shot themselves in the foot by saying this takes place in this certain time period, so only these characters can be here. And now we built this additional experience that costs a lot of money, and only those same characters from Galaxy's Edge can be there because it is during this exact same time period. And it screwed them over on that. And they can still figure out ways around it for sure, but the timeless approach is the way to go.
Even Harry Potter, though, is kind of like the Forbidden Journey. They're in the middle of their schooling years, and Gringotts, they're at the end of the story. But no one, it's undefeated. Pandora, the land of Avatar, the world of Avatar, is undefeated because it takes place 80 years in the future. And they can make up whatever they want. Yeah. They don't have to worry about whether a character lives or dies in the next movies. If they ever come out, they are fine. And you know what? You want to build a hotel where I get to sleep in a tree and have a tail and walk around? Maybe I'll do that because I'm a weirdo.
Why not? Why not?
People, when these movies start coming out, I think that might be the franchise to jump on. Build a hotel out of that.
I was very harsh on Pandora before it opened, and then I ate my words on it because of how
literally
beautiful it was.
Literally at Saltuli Canteen. It's delicious, delicious words.
It is delicious.
Yeah, I know I am the first to admit that, but I have since that land has opened up, I've tried to watch that Avatar so many times, and I just cannot watch it.
You can't do it now. You can't go back. You can't go back.
I didn't even. Movie. And I think I killed myself on that because I did not see it in theaters. I was so adamant against the 3D wave that I was like, no, I'm not spending extra money to see something in 3D. I don't want to see it at all. If I can't see it, if I can't watch it just regularly and have appreciation for it, I'm not seeing it.
It was so good in IMAX. You got to watch the 23-minute more special edition. It really fleshes out the story and the side plots.
Craig, you saw it. You watched Fern Gully, I'm sure, at some point in your life.
I watched it. I watched it once on Blu-ray when it first came out on Blu-ray, and I bought it just blindly. I was like, oh, well, it's the highest grossing movie of all time. Might as well give it a shot now. I watched it once and was like, that's good enough for me. And every time I've tried to watch it, I just can't. We used to, when I worked at Dragon Challenge, we used to only have like 3 DVDs in our break room, and that was one of them. And so it would just nonstop play. And even then, I've probably seen the movie like 4 times now, just all different random scattered parts, but I just can't watch it. And
in my opinion, the tech that's in the movie is what makes the movie. Like the way that was shot, all the stuff they did.
The
like
handheld the 3D, VR camera is amazing. Like the 3D, it's really well made.
Instead of doing the cheap 3D gags, the depth that they went for instead, all this stuff is what really made it really cool to me.
Yeah, who needs a good story?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's Fern Gully. I said what I said.
Yeah, it's it's tough. I'll die on the hill of I need the story. I'm here for the story, and then I watch a Oscar-winning movie that has a story that I just find to be convoluted, but everyone else is praising, and then I'm like, well, you know what? Do we really need a story?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just one big hypocrite.
Yeah. So Star Wars Hotel. I mean, the Galactic Starcruiser.
Oh yeah, we were
space boat.
I thought we were space boat. We were talking about that, weren't we?
Coast to coast.
Space boat is leaving the dock. The space dock. Everyone, all aboard. I have one more question. No, I have 2 more questions.
I might have one more. Go ahead. Let me see what you ask.
The first question is, you didn't go to Batuu, or you did go to Batuu?
I did. Yep. 1,000%. You have to.
Okay.
You have to.
What was the shuttle experience like?
That was exactly what I was going to ask.
You take a shuttle elevator up to the ship to get from the ground level, but then you take a shuttle box truck to get to the planet down. So are these similar experiences or very different?
No. The shuttle that you take to get up to the hotel is an elevator. And I'm not even, we all know it's an elevator. You press the buttons, you get in, and you have to press the button to go up.
It has a fire rescue key button on there. It's clearly an elevator.
It's got all of it. It's an elevator, and it's because you are going up to a second floor. So you have to take the elevator up. They did a great job at trying to make it feel like a transport, but ultimately it is an elevator, and there is, so it's not you can only suspend your disbelief so much.
I mean, there is a screen, and you see space out there, so you're supposed to be taking a shuttle, but it's an elevator.
The screen is up above everyone's head, and depending on your angle, you may see a great view of it, or you could see a terrible view of it. And it's maybe a screen that is 4 feet wide by 1 foot tall, so it's not a big screen by any stretch of the imagination.
It's the genie in the Disney Quest elevator. I've already said that before. They redid the genie effect.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's It is what it is. I mean, it's an elevator, so you can only do so much with it. The Batu transport, I it is it. There's no beating around the bush on it. It is riding in the back of a bus or a box truck, whatever you want to call it. I it is themed on the inside, and it does play music on there, but there's like everyone. If you've ridden on one bus in your lifetime, you automatically feel the exact same experience. It's
Okay.
the same way of if you've ridden in one elevator, you understand you're going up in an elevator. And I mean, it's how they had to do it. And I'm not knocking Disney on it, and I'm not even being critical on it here. They were left with a very tough decision on how to do it. Obviously they could have tried to go the Hogwarts Express
Right, a raised
style
platform
way,
with a to and from box, a people mover box,
And-
like magnets
Yeah.
or something, would have felt like the shuttle propulsion on a smooth track. Like that
I
would be the
agree
better
with
way
that.
to do it, but it would be super expensive to maintain and have for a very low use attraction.
Look, these are just
Exactly.
older shuttles, and the engines are not up to date, so it's a little bumpier. That's all.
It's bumpy.
Yeah.
Space,
a little more
space can be
noticeable.
bumpy.
A little more noticeable. That's all.
Yeah. No, they definitely can sell that from that perspective too. Of like, oh, we do this. You basically shoot into hyperspeed to get up from the hotel, from where you board the hotel area to shoot up. Like it is in hyperspeed, whereas this is more of you're leaving the ship to go down through the atmosphere and going on to Batu. So
Are there
I
screens?
feel like no,
viewports?
there are not.
That's
They're
what's
not.
so weird
No,
to
but-
me. You're in a
Yeah, that's
windowless
weird.
truck bed. Like, it's a refrigerated
Yeah.
truck, so at least there's AC.
To be
Yeah.
fair, though, to be fair,
To be fair.
the screens would probably make it a little more difficult because you can't really predict travel time or something might
Which
cross.
is why it
You don't
should
know
have been
what's
on a
going
track.
back there.
Yes. Ian, you nailed it. They would not be able to figure that out because I know there was one point where we just stopped when we were moving. It just stopped because of, I'm guessing, traffic or a backup somewhere. So
Engine stall.
that did throw off the entire transport time.
Yeah, because you are
And-
crossing the main backstage road for employees and backstage access. So you have to cross over that busy backstage road. So yeah, it
And
could have been pedestrians crossing for all you know.
Exactly. It could have been cast members moving and stuff. It could have been a lot of things. And I'll say the other part too is that they could have, with how it's set up, it's basically you walk into the middle of the box that you're sitting in, and you have 4 seats on the left and 4 seats on the right, or maybe 6 seats on the left and 6 seats on the right. And the seats are you're facing each other like any Disney bus.
Yeah.
And then there can be 4 people that just stand up in the middle section, or there's enough room to like pull an ECV on there. And so really you could technically put a TV at one end of the truck and then on the back end, kind of like how the transport is on Rise of the Resistance.
Well,
You
there's
could have
also a
done it like that
ceiling
style.
effect on that too.
Yeah.
Could have done a ceiling screen.
Absolutely. You could have done that as well. I think because of the bumpiness of it, I think it would have made a lot of people motion sickness.
Oh yeah. But a windowless van isn't.
I don't suffer from it, so I can't really say one way or another on it, but
I will say the walkways getting on and off though are really well themed. Like the idea of the departing off of it and getting to Galaxy's Edge, the connection there is beautiful. So they themed that as best they could, and it really feels like you're getting off of something and walking out to the land. So I'm sure the reveal is pretty cool, not having to go through the front of the theme park and all.
Yeah, it definitely has like a little bit of Star Tours-esque vibes to it, of being at like a travel port where you could end up to any of those different destinations depending on where your cruise was going from. So they themed it, but yeah, it's that transport. I mean, you already said the easiest solution. It's just they should have built like a monorail system or a people mover system, anything like that, and it probably would have been a more consistent experience, but they had no winning solution in this one, in my opinion. There would have been issues no matter what path they took with it.
Yeah, that upkeep and not necessarily ever getting your money back for it. I get it. But you know what? We never got our people mover in the center of Epcot. We never got, they took away the people mover at Disneyland. This is an anti-people mover company is what this is. It's a shock that we still have it here in Tomorrowland in Florida. A shock.
So we just go to funiculars like the Hogwarts Express, like you said. It'd be fine.
Yeah, no magnets to worry about, just one big cable.
Yeah, yep. The Skyliner would have also worked.
Oh, that would have been fun.
I think the Space Liner. They could have named it the Space Liner.
And it swings.
Gosh, where the heck was I in that room? How come they did not ask me what to do?
You got to take the space boat to the Space Liner to go to the Space Land. All right. On that note, we could have talked for hours about it, but we had a good conversation. I think this is going to be an interesting thing to watch, not just with Disney, but other themed entertainment companies, because it's something that's being blasted to the mainstream now. It was like something small and under the radar, and now it's interesting to see, like, are we going to see a Meow Wolf hotel? Like, are we going to see some immersive other experiences? Will Universal ever give us the Hogwarts hotel or whatever? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see how successful this is, and with only its measly little 100 rooms, it honestly could go under the radar and be hugely successful, and that's the weirdest thing about this project.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And Meow Wolf now. I want that here now.
I never want the Hogwarts hotel, so I'm just going on record saying that now.
Every time I try to get to the Great Hall, the stairs keep moving. It's very annoying.
They need a shuttle to the Great Hall so that you can't get lost.
All right. Thank you, Craig, for being
Craig.
on and answering our questions and chatting. Where can everyone find you on the internet?
You can find me talking on my podcasts that I'm on, the Diz Unplugged, and a bunch of shows that we do covering Disney, Universal, and beyond. You can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, at Teleclashter, TELECLASHTER, and I think that's the only important places. That's the only places you would want to find me. And
no, you are you also on that Disney dining channel? Was that?
Yeah, I just tell people go to youtube.com/Diz Unplugged and the 9 different channels that we have. You'll find me on most of those, as long as it's not about DVC. And that's basically the only one I'm not on, because I don't know anything about DVC. So thank goodness the Galactic Starcruiser is not a DVC hotel experience, because if it was, I would be lost.
I like the Disney dining channel. I am subscribed to that. You even tried the Pizza Rizzo.
I was going to say, it's the only reason is probably because I've given Pizza Rizzo multiple chances, and it's never really disappointed me. Just that Caesar salad. I will always disagree with you on the Caesar salad.
On the record, you said it doesn't disappoint. Boom, put it on the big banner. The city's top-rated pizza. It doesn't disappoint.
Cult.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.